Every Monday, we check in with the Show Me Institute. Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute is Patrick Toohey. Patrick, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
All right, so there's a new paper out, and you guys, this is what you guys harp on quite a bit and talk about, and we have a chance to sort of dive deep, if you will. Pardon the phrase, but you guys would love to see Missouri tax itself differently. Make your argument.
Well, thank you for putting it that way, actually, because I was prepared to start off by saying that people often accuse us or make a caricature of us that we're just against taxes. That absolutely isn't true. Taxes are necessary to provide the basic services of government that we all agree government needs to provide, the judicial system, roads. And taxes can be a good thing to the degree that it does that. But taxes increases prices, right? Taxes distort the market forces that people rely on. And oftentimes we tax in a sloppy manner. I guess I would put it this way. It's a powerful resource government has. They ought to use it more responsibly. But what happens, of course, is that they tax all of us and then use that tax money to give it back to some of their friends, right? Their cronies, people who have lobbyists who are well-connected, and that is unjust. Or, in the case of a lot of local special taxing districts, they give the power to tax over to private businesses who then collect, 0.5%, 1% on top and use it for themselves, not for public services. So, absolutely, it's not a matter of not taxing, it's a matter of taxing differently.
So, Patrick Toohey, you have a paper, I guess, on showme.org. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. And I think if you break it down into three, I think 99.9% of the people would agree that eliminating economic development tax credits, as well as eliminating these special TDDs and everything else,
right,
because the system is beyond broken. And people are taking advantage of it. These developers are gorging on it, and it's not helping anybody but the individuals who either own the land or who are developing the land.
That's right.
So we can all agree with that. But changing over from a state income tax to a state sales tax already in some places in the city is at 10%. How much more sales tax can you put on us?
No, in fact, the legislature was considering an issue that would cap the sales tax at 14%, and Kansas City and St. Louis are against that. Now, we're not at 14% yet, but they apparently feel that we're going to get there soon.
Right.
So, look, the argument is that a tax on consumption is less damaging to the economy than a tax on property or a tax on income. So that, if you're going to come up with a way to tax, that is the best way to do it. However, you are exactly right. Taxes, sales taxes in the cities of Missouri is awfully high. And in Kansas City we have, and in St. Louis too, there's an income tax on top of that. Then you've got property tax. So shifting it is not just a matter of getting rid of the taxes we have and increasing the sales tax. It's a matter of looking at how we tax. What are the unintended consequences? What are the things we are trying to do, and kind of clean up our system so that we actually accomplish those things. For example, the low-income housing tax credit has a great name, right? Who can be against low-income housing?
Right.
But the fact is the tax credit really doesn't accomplish that goal. And so when I get up and say to people, and I tend to collect friends on the left, and I say, hey, we want to get rid of the low-income tax credit, they say, oh my gosh, you don't want to build low-income housing, you hate the poor. Like, no, that's not it. It's that this particular way of accomplishing that goal absolutely doesn't work. It's got a great name, but it doesn't accomplish the goal we need to do, and so maybe there's a different way to do it. And a lot of times it's just the rhetoric of debate, and people get caught up in names and titles, but what we're trying to do is come up with a more efficient way to make sure that government collects and spends its resources.
Yeah. The other thing too is that these cities, more here in, I'm not an expert on Kansas City, but here in St. Louis, they are right. So the state isn't raising our taxes, but our towns are, and our cities are, and they're taxing us because the infrastructure, or whatever world we want to live in, right? We want our police departments, we want our 92 police departments, we want our 75 trash collectors, we want our 72 different fire chiefs, right? So
it's the price of civilization, isn't it?
Right. So while great, the state is reducing our tax burden, our cities are killing us.
That's right, and it's not, and yes, and it's not just the cities. Of course, it's all these special taxing districts, a hotel with its own tax, a shopping center with its own tax, and that's because the legislature has been, frankly, asleep at the wheel. They've created these standards that are so broad that people have, developers, bright attorneys, have realized we don't need to go to the city or to the state and ask them to raise taxes. They've, in effect, given us the power to do it. And so even if the legislature does a good job of holding state taxes down, you're absolutely right. Cities and towns and developers are running away with the shop, and we're becoming a much less competitive state, as evidenced by the fact that we lost a congressional seat recently. Like Missouri is not growing as fast as it needs to stay above, keep its head above water.
Patrick, what happened in Kansas? Why did Kansas' experiment fail?
That's a great question. You ask 1,000 different people, you get 1,000 different answers. But here's what I know from living next door. First of all, the governor was very eager to cut taxes, and so was the legislature. The governor asked for a few things, a few tax cuts. The legislature gave him a whole bunch, more than he wanted. And rather than pare down the list of tax cuts, he signed them all. Second, the legislature and the governor did not cut spending to make up for the cuts in revenue. They absolutely should have cut a lot more spending, but as you know, that's tough for legislators to do. Mm-hmm. Third, and perhaps the biggest issue, is that the two biggest economies in Kansas, agriculture and energy, went in the tank. And I mean like decades-low numbers. And lots of states were hurting. Lots of states had their economies hurt, and lots of states, missed projected income. But Kansas had kind of made itself a poster child by calling their tax cut an experiment, and people took them up on it. And I think they overpromised and underproduced, frankly.
Yeah, Patrick, I applaud the Show Me Institute's vigor on this, but all you have to do is look that everyone agrees that it's a bad system. A lot of it is. Everyone agrees it should be changed, but nobody wants to do the hard work and do the heavy lifting.
Let me say, I think you're right, and you've been right on this for a long time, but I suspect that activists on the left and right in Kansas City and St. Louis, and conservatives and liberals in the legislature are realizing that we've been handing away far too much power to developers and to localities. So I am optimistic. It might not happen this session, but that there has been enough clamor for change that in the next session we may clean a lot of this up.
Patrick, what's the website again?
ShowMeInstitute.org.
You can come on the show anytime and tell me how right I am at least 7 times in a segment.
Well, you don't respond to my email to that fact, so I have to call in.
Patrick, have a good day. Thanks.
Take care.